Welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for... Cody, he made me start too soon. Hold on. It's a podcast for people who are almost family. Cody, what did we watch?
We watched... You're asking me questions that I don't know the answer to. I'm not 100% confident what the name of this movie is. I'm going to guess. It's Hitman, Agent 47.
Dude, can I tell you, I really hoped that you accidentally watched the Timothy Oliphant one.
Movie?
So bad. I wanted it.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that.
Well, there's another one's called Hitman Agent something else. It's like an Asian movie with like ninjas or something. Anyway, I almost watched the wrong movie like 3 different ways, but I did it. I think I watched the right movie.
Probably. We'll find out soon enough, or we won't. Who knows? Maybe we'll get through the whole thing. We'll find out at the very end that you watched the wrong one. So, Cody, tell me what you thought of the movie.
It was. It was. That's all I really need to say. It happened, I saw it. And let me tell you, I had to squeeze this thing into my schedule. You know what I'm saying? And I did it. And I bet you think I wasn't going to do it. You woke up this morning and you're like, oh, thank goodness. He hadn't said he watched the movie. There's no way we have to record tonight. And no, I did it. I watched it while also watching football. And here we are. Nailed it.
I'm so proud of you. I thought you'd already watched it, if I'm being honest. And I also watched it while watching football. But here we are. I paid more attention to the movie, though, than the football. So hopefully together we can tell everybody about the football.
Watching two things at once is a great way to enjoy both less.
Yeah.
Did I miss important plot points of the movie? 100%. Did I miss some really good plays of football? Absolutely. The moral of the story is you can have it all, do it,
I can't wait for the point in the podcast here where you're like, they never even say who Agent 47 is. I can't wait for that to come up. What'd you think of it? Did you tell me what you thought of it, or did you say you watched it?
I didn't really tell you. I'll tell you this. I liked it more than I thought I would. And that's all you need to know for now.
Cody, let me tell you, I grew up. So you ready to? I grew up with my brother being a huge fan of this. So this is the Big Brother's game. I don't know. Cody, you were the Big Brother. So
I was the Big Brother.
You're the Big Brother. No, you're not my Big Brother. I'm saying you are a Big Brother.
I'm not a Big Brother.
You're a Big Brother, Cody.
I'm not your Big Brother. I'm not the Big Brother from 1984, and I'm also not a Big Brother.
You're a Big Brother to your older brother, who is, older than you, questionably older, but probably younger than you.
Okay.
Just imagine
Accurate.
if he was 9 years younger than you, and you played this game, and then he was recording the podcast with me.
All right, there.
That's me, okay? Because that's what it is. That's my brother. He played these games, and I played them sometimes. Cody, you're going to ask me questions about, did they do this in the video game? I'm here to tell you, Cody, I know there's Agent 47. I know about Diana, who gives you your stuff. And that's about where it ends. It's about where my knowledge of the storyline ends, except for random snippets. Also, I guarantee you I'm going to say something, and if anybody ever listened to this podcast, they'd be like, that's a fact from, what's it called, Cody? What's the other one called? The other one where he's got the little 3 lights and it goes beep when he puts them down. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, Cody.
Tom Clancy.
It is a Tom Clancy. You're right.
Rainbow Siege.
No, Cody.
Ghost Ark. Recon 1.
Cody. Splinter Cell. There we go.
Splinter Cell. Oh, that's a throwback.
Oh, Splinter Cell. In Splinter Cell, Agent 47.
Like the OG Tom
thing,
Clancy stuff.
It's the same storyline. Anyway.
Do the sound again. You did it so good. Do it again.
Let me tell you right now. You flick on a, like an actual night vision headset. don't always make that sound, but sometimes they do. But you know what does make the sound effect? A dollar store disposable camera when you redo its flash, and it goes, "Eep," and you're like, yes, I
Oh yeah,
am.
I remember that.
It's
Let me
me.
tell you,
I'm the assassin.
I was over at a friend's house the other day, and they're both they work for the police, and they're both like past the point where they're wearing like uniforms. Like I think he's a detective, and she does like admin something stuff. Anywho, so he's like a plainclothes cop guy, but he's like, you'd be surprised how many times people pull up to me in parking lots and just do drugs. Like, oh, that's fun. So I had to ask him, like, what do you even do? Do you just like walk on tap them? And I was like, well, usually I'll call a friend who's like somewhere nearby, and they'll just like pull up, pull up in front of the car in uniform and step out, and there you go, got him. Anywho, which I thought was fun. Also, he's got night goggles for work. He's also got a work truck for work. Anyway, he was like, they live out in the boonies, and so he's like, yeah, it's like I thought maybe there was like a coyote getting into our chicken coop. So he's like, so I grabbed my work goggles, my work night goggles, and popped them on. I was like, man, what your life is so different from mine in so many ways. I would never have night vision goggles and a truck and a chicken coop, but it's cool that you have those things, you know? Moral of the story is, if you pull up to a car and make eye contact with someone and you're about to like snort some cocaine, which is what that guy did, that guy could be a cop, you know? Just because you're not wearing a uniform doesn't mean you're not looking at a detective, you know?
Cody, let me ask you this. You and I were both raised as good boys. We're part of what some might call Proud Boys, you know? And and they always acted like people were just going to come up to you and offer you drugs all the time. Like it was going to be a problem in your life.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever, for free, offered you drugs?
No, I have. No, the only time someone asked if I wanted drugs was a drug dealer in San Francisco. And let me tell you, he asked me 3 different times in the course of one evening. He kept passing us. Like we were walking on our way to dinner, asked us on the way to dinner. We left dinner, asked us on the way out of dinner. When we were getting on the train, he asked us a 3rd time. Yeah. But no, for free, not even once. I didn't even get invited to the cool kids party where the cool kids were doing drugs. None of it.
See, I've been offered a drug before, but my favorite of all the times, Cody, was once sitting in a Kmart parking lot with the window down, bumping some music, and I was like, "Am I in a commercial right now?" Because some ne'er do wells in like a Nissan or something pulled up, and they said, "You want some drugs?" And I just looked at him. I said, "No," and I rolled my window up because I was like, "There's no reality where this ends with me getting drugs."
I
These
picture
are
you
cops.
were like a housewife with a robe on just so you can pull your robe up and cover yourself up a little more. Like, no.
It was so weird. So I was like, there's no way these are real people. Like this is a TV show. This is a sting operation. There's something else going on here.
This is a cutscene in Grand Theft Auto. I don't know.
It's like pulled up, be like, "You want some drugs?" Who says you want some drugs? Okay, nobody says that. So the only real what was probably going on is it was probably an agent there to kill me, and that was his way in. And I said, "No, thank you, sir. I promised Jesus I would never do drugs." And then what did I do? I did a weed at one time later in life, Cody, and now Jesus Christ for me, and I'm sorry.
That's
It's
what
down
brought us here today.
Down there somewhere in Mexico. It's the joke, Cody, because it's a popular name in Mexico, but they pronounce it Jesus.
Yeah, that's true. I knew a guy, and he was Latino, and his name was Jesus, and he absolutely called himself Jesus for comedic effect. So he'd like call your cell phone and then leave a message and be like, "Hey, Cody, it's Jesus. Call me back." And then hang up. That's pretty funny.
I knew a guy once. They may have been up to no good, if I'm being honest, but it was funny, their reputation, because it was a dude who was the leader of a group. It was him, and the man had 12 cronies, and his name was Jesus.
Perfect.
They really leaned into
No
that.
notes.
They really
No
leaned
notes.
into the branding that they had gotten themselves. I think.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to know: how many of those people are fake friends? How many of those guys are only
At least
getting
one.
invited?
There's at least one Judas of the group. I know that for sure.
That's the other thing too. Is like who's getting called Judas? But who? Like if I told you, hey, you need to get 12 people, 12 friends together. How many are real, and how many are you calling in just to get the 12?
I could get 4 people maybe at best. You know, I got 4 out of 12 people I could call. The other 8, there's no way. You know, those aren't real people. You know.
So anyway, this movie. Do you wanna just hop in my Audi, Cody?
Yeah.
My Cody, my Audi car, my
Audi mobile.
my brand placement Audi mobile, and just drive off it along the Audi road to Audi Town, USA, which is actually Spoiler Town, but for brand placement purposes has been temporarily renamed to Audi Town.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Tyler, are you going first or am I going first? That's the real question.
Here's what I want to know. Do you have a bunch of notes, or do you just have a lot of feelings, or do I need to go so that you can have feelings?
I've got notes. I do have notes. Like, I've got them.
All right, let me go first. Let me do it first here. Let me go first. You don't seem vibe. I'm not feeling the vibe from you. So here we go. Cody, let me tell you, okay? First off, I need to tell you, I'm going to explain to you my opening thing, okay? Because this movie, we could have had it, Cody. We could have had it all right? Because who, before his untimely demise, was attached to play Agent 47 in this very movie? Our Lord and Savior, Paul Walker, okay? That's who was. That's who was attached. And I know what happened. He went down. Vin Diesel stepped up and he said, let me do it. And they said, calm down, Vin. Go and do some stuff that'll get you canceled 10 years from now, okay? That's what he did, okay? So he was off busy doing his stuff. And we got, instead, Rupert Friend, who, I've always said this, Cody, is just, he's discount Orlando Bloom. That's really what he is, okay? And you're going to sit here and you're going to be like, what? This guy? Yes, because name a movie that you've seen him in that he isn't covered in stuff that you didn't think, I didn't know Orlando Bloom was in that movie. Psych! It's not him, it's Rupert Friend. I think it's Orlando Bloom under a stage name. That's what I think. Anyway, Cody, this movie, let me tell you, I had not seen this movie before. A lot of these movies, I've seen them, I've loved them, I've been attached to them through my mind umbilical cord from birth, okay? Because I love them so much. This one, no sir. Because it was rated R and I was a good boy and I wasn't going to go watch this movie. But this movie, let me just tell you right now, Cody, it's good. I liked it. I thought it perfectly nailed it, except for it does a thing. Here's what I would do. Here's what I would change. Cody, you ready for this? Let's dial down his super soldierness just a touch. Dial up the goofiness. He did not kill a single person by drowning them in a toilet. And I feel like that really does not fit with the spirit of a Hitman. But Hitman is and always will be an incredibly serious storyline matched with incredibly goofy gameplay. Because you can kill these people however you want. So you can do things like, just snipe them or poison them. But you can also be like, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dress up as a prostitute. I'm going to lure him in here and then I'm going to kill him with a dildo. You can do anything you want and you can get crazy with it. And that's what's good about it. So I did like how they did have moments of it. Like I felt like there were moments that I think part of the reason the movie did so poorly is people read it as like, well, that's weird. It doesn't make any sense. Like some of the goofier kills or some of the more wild moments in the movie. But I was like, no, but that's those are the best, most realistic parts of the movie if it's trying to recreate the game. Because I know in the first movie, which are the original one back with Timothy Oliphant, it was way more serious. It's Tim. So it's very, it's like more serious, more like, just he's a hitman thing. But you gotta get like, it's like James Bond. You know how James Bond is the best when it's a little campy and goofy. Like that's what Hitman has always tried to be, right? And that's why like the Hitman guys that make the video game, they're making a James Bond game now, and everybody's super excited because they're the ones that are gonna knock it out of the park. But like, there's the most famous scene, right, in the newer games. Cody, give me a nod. Have you played the newer Hitman games? Oh, okay. So the thing that really like took it off, that really set off, and like told everybody like, yeah, this is it. Is you go to a fashion show, and one of the main tracks, like not even one of the obscure ones, is you're getting in this fashion show. And let me tell you, Cody, Agent 47 is a professional and he works it on that stage. All right. And you get graded on how well you do. It's a very much like same vibe as like the like sexy dances from Final Fantasy 7, if you ever played that, where you gotta seduce a guy. Anyway, it's very much that. And it's like, yeah, no. They're like, yeah, he's like a genetically engineered super soldier that does whatever it takes to complete the mission, Cody. And if that means that he's got to put on a dress and work it like his life depends on it, he's going to do it to get to his target. And I love it because I feel like this movie came close to hitting that. Also, you remember when Zachary Quinto was the hotness? They were like, he's the bad guy from Heroes. And now he's in everything. And, here we are.
Tyler, I'm gonna have to cut you off right there, and I'm gonna have to dive right into mine. So first off, my note is this Russian Orlando Bloom? Because I swear to you, 5 different times, and even after I decided it wasn't Orlando Bloom, I was like, oh, it is Orlando Bloom. 5 different times in the movie, I looked this man in the face and said, I am looking at Orlando Bloom. And it took me about 40 minutes to realize, no, it definitely isn't him. But, it was there. I had questions the whole time. Also, the other guy, Agent whatever, I also thought, is that American Eli Roth? I think Eli Roth is American, but whatever. The guy, he looks like Eli Roth. Is it him? Probably not. But might it be? It is. It is him? No. I don't know who's in this movie, but I know that they couldn't get Orlando Bloom, they couldn't get Eli Roth, and they found the 2 closest actors they could to him. All right? Let's talk about the very best part of this movie. I mean, it's not even close. The start, when it's just like a Galadriel voiceover Lord of the Rings introduction. Just fantastic. They really did it, I made a mistake, all right? I tried to multitask and watch this movie, and I had just a couple, I had like a dish to wash in the kitchen before I went downstairs to really watch it, Like, I got to play it because I got to get through it. Otherwise, I won't ever do it. I've been trying to watch this movie for 6 weeks. I got to just do it. And I missed 2/3 of this lore, and I was trying to catch up the whole movie. I even thought, no, I'm going to go back through and watch the first 5 minutes so it can all make sense. Didn't do it. And I'm happy that I didn't, because it's probably better this way. I love it. This lady, what's her name? Katya. Katya is out here. She's like the Rain Man of city demographics. The lady's like, what you want me to do? There's like 5 million people. She's like, not if you take into account their 8. She's going for it, doing the numbers. Good for, I should appreciate. I love numbers in a movie, I love when they commit to it. They call it, look, they're agents, all right? That's a Matrix thing, all right? So really, this is a Matrix movie. Just kidding. Actually, it's a Terminator movie. Just kidding. They're programmed. It's back to a Matrix movie. All right, that's what's going through my head while I watch this movie. All right, that's what I need you to understand. Is it Orlando Bloom? No, it's not. Is it Eli Roth? No, it's not. Is this the Matrix? No, it's not. Is it Terminator? No, it's not. Yes, it is the Matrix. So this movie is the Matrix. Proud to say Nipple Watch is back on. Nipple Watch 2024. Look, when I watch a movie and someone, first off, I'm all for like getting rid of bras altogether. Let me just say that, people should be comfortable. But when I see someone in a movie and it's like so cold and the nipples are like blasting through the shirt, I'm like, can we get them some help? They have to be so uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, not my nipples. So it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. How do you enhance someone's survival skill? Like, I've heard of them being like, oh, you have increased reflexes, or we opened up your brain waves, but like your survival skills. That's what I want to know. Like, what exactly about the survival skills are enhanced? Because it seems like what actually happened is they can like see through walls and see the future slightly because their reflexes are that good. You know, it's fine. I don't care. I liked it. Made it feel like a video game. You know, when a video game like gives you the run through the mission beforehand. You know, or like, oh, I've done this mission 3 times and I keep dying in this spot, so I know they're gonna come around the corner, and like the bullet time reaction. I thought it did a good job as far as like a video game movie. I was like, it gives it that video game feel. And I have not played any of these games. I know very little about them except that there's like Hitman missions, and you're like, you got to kill this guy, but you can do it however. You know, I didn't know you got to do silly fun ways, and it makes me want to play them. But I did get the vibe, especially when like the guy has Wolverine skin or whatever. He's got like titanium flexible. When he's like, we injected titanium under his skin. Also, it's flexible. I was like, okay, well, those are two different. It's one thing to have titanium bones. It's another thing to have a layer of metal under your skin that's also flexible. Anyway, I thought it was cool that he found a really creative way to kill him. You know, when he like used the garrotes, what do you call those? And he stabs him into the power supply of the building, and then it goes. I was like, oh, that's a cool way to do that one. That's a cool way. I liked it. You know. So, they were, you know, I was impressed by a lot of this movie, but then at a certain point, they lost me because at a certain point, the dialogue runs its course. We're like, nah, you made too many misses, and the dialogue kind of just got bad. But it's, you know, it's fine. You know, it's fine. I liked it more than I thought it would. Okay, action was pretty good. My favorite piece of dialogue though was he's asking all these follow-up questions to try to triangulate the dad or whatever. And it's like, what does he like? What does he love to do? And she's like, orchids. I'm like, word that better. What does he love? He loves to do orchids. That's not what it means. You know what I'm saying? There's better lead up question or something. You know, you can't just answer.
Oh,
one
I'm gonna
word,
have to cut you off, Cody.
Tyler, what do you love to do?
I love nothing.
No.
Nothing. I'm a soulless.
Whatever you say is fine. Just don't say one word. So,
yeah.
What do you love to do? Orchids.
But here's the thing, right? Where I feel like it's not that bad because it does say, like, she's like, what does he love to do? And he's like, he likes to take care of orchids and stuff. Like, he in that same thing, he's like, no, that was a bad way to say it. No. You know, like, that's it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think the movie.
What is he passionate about? Orchids. What are his hobbies? You know, there's other way. I'm just saying, you know, take another pass at the script, guys.
That's what I was saying. I think the movie is. I think if it wasn't attached to a video game, this would be a solid, like, it would have a 70% critic rating and all that. Like, it would be like, it was okay, but it could be better. Like, it was like 80% of a good movie, like a great movie, you know? Like, just tighten up the dialogue a little bit, maybe make some of the effects a little better, but I think it's there. Like, I think if this wasn't a video game movie, this would have been like an interesting start. We're interested to see what these people do next, kind of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's a video game movie that came out in 2015, which I feel like was kind of like almost like one of the most brutal times towards like video game adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, they'll never be good. Stop it. You know?
Yeah.
Like Hollywood as a whole, like all the critics were determined to kill video games' hopes. Here's what I think the issue is. I think the problem is Hollywood is like, video games, you'll never be good enough. And video games, you sit there and they'll be like, but we want to be good enough. But the reality of the situation is video games are so much bigger as an entertainment medium than Hollywood will ever hope to possibly be. Like, what's the biggest movie that's ever been made? It's still Gone with the Wind with inflation, right? Mm-hmm. How much money did Gone with the Wind make?
I don't know.
Like a couple $1 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 made that in a day.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's been out for like a decade now. You know, so it's like video game, like there is no hope for any other entertainment medium to ever possibly catch up to the market penetration and the amount of money that's made and everything that video games can do. So I feel like almost that's a thing. I feel like that's a thing with them, Cody. These critics are like, you know, snobbish. But like, Cody, let me ask you this. You watched this movie. How many hours have you spent this last week playing Spider-Man?
I mean, I'm 40% through the game, and I've been playing it for about a week or two.
Let's talk about Spider-Man.
So that'll that should tell you, you know.
Since you brought up Spider-Man, Cody, let me ask you this: why is it so glitchy? Let's just take a little detour here.
I've been complaining to you about this all week, and I don't know why. And we talked about this, right? That off air, that people were like, some people were mad, like, I should have won Game of the Year. I'm like, not that it isn't a very fun game, because it is, and there's a lot of cool things it does. But I'm sorry, if you want to be Game of the Year, I shouldn't glitch through a wall every, like every third mission I'm in.
Yeah. Like,
just shouldn't, you got to tighten the screw. And what's funny about it too is like, this is technically the third one of these they've made, right? It's like the same engine. They did the first one, they did Miles Morales, this is Spider-Man 2, but really it's the third game in the series. So why are we still, you're replaying one of the previous ones, and you're telling me about the same issues I'm having at the new one, Yeah.
And like I told you, I think the remake is worse than the original one. And I'm like, this is crazy. You know what's not worse though is the new Hitman games. These people, they're doing it. Okay, let me tell you about the beautiful story that is IO Interactive. Okay, IO Interactive, Cody, they are a video game developer. Mm-hmm. They make Hitman, that franchise. Mm-hmm. So IO Interactive, they're out here, they're getting bought by people left and right. Okay, left, right, middle, up, down, all over the place, getting bought. They get bought by Squeenix, or Square Enix, if you will. Okay. And Square Enix, Squeenix. So then Squeenix is out here like, we got to get rid of these guys. And so they're like, we're going to shut them down. And then IO Interactive said, like, well, what if we just, you're not going to shut us down. We're just going to leave your company. And then Squeenix says, cool, and you can keep Hitman and all that stuff. So now IO Interactive, they're out here, they're by themselves, living their best life. Because Squeenix was like, you can have Hitman, it'll never be successful. And you know what? Now it is. And everybody's like, suck on that, Squeenix. So anyway, that's all really I wanted you to know is that, IO Interactive, they're out here doing it. Okay, they're out here living the dream. Okay. Also, the guy that voices Agent 47 in the games, fun fact,
Orlando Bloom,
Super Mario Brothers movie, voiced Bowser in the Danish dub. Let it sink in. Let it sink in.
Too much for my brain to comprehend. So he's Danish?
Yeah, they're a Danish studio.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's fun.
But so, I mean, would you agree, like, that the movie feels like it's 80%, like, if, like, I mean, I guess with, like, if you, this is the kind of thing that I would expect to see if I was going to, like, hey, let's do, like, a pre-screening before we go back in and re-edit some stuff, maybe. Maybe do some reshoots, like the test screenings.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, okay, this didn't land right. Let's go back. Let's reshoot this. Let's re-edit this. Let's clean this up. Like this, if this was that movie, then I think they're putting out a banger of a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would agree. It's like, does the dialogue need tuning? Yes. Do the effects need a slight upgrade? Yes. But the action is actually like pretty good. I normally when I see like a bad R-rated movie, it's like, this is just not, whoever the stunt people were, they didn't really care to put anything into this, and so I actually thought that the action worked pretty well for how they used it, and I just thought the actors were pretty good as well too, like for the most part, and so I had a lot going for it. It suffers a bit from like the generic video game plot kind of thing, where it's like the Syndicate, I'm an agent, which
I would say
is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm just saying, like, there's a couple things you're like, if this was like an original like movie, it might just be it would just be different, like.
But I will say this. The storyline of Hitman, from what I know, is influential enough that a lot of the reason that you see the Syndicate and agents in a lot of Hollywood movies is because of Hitman.
No, you think so?
Yes, it is an old franchise that did have the original thing. I mean, the original thing was literally just like, it is meant to be, he is a faceless generic protagonist that you just
which
insert
works
yourself in.
really well for a video
Right,
game
like he's meant to be
because
nothing.
it's you putting
He's
yourself in their shoes. So,
literally like later in the
but
thing you find out in the movie he's literally a clone, and you only
but
thing is Diana gives you your thing, your like
yeah,
mission, and then you do the mission, you go back to the van, and then you go from a menu to the next mission. And they
right,
did a good job, I think, of taking that into an actual storyline where it's like, oh, this is the origin and all that. But
yeah.
like,
Well, I'll say too, like they show him as like a generic dude, but it actually works really well for the first like 30 minutes of the movie where you're not sure who's the good guy or the bad guy,
mhm.
because like him just kind of popping up, and even when like she's when she is taken into captivity by like the embassy people, and she's like, oh, he's here, and you see like she's imagining or foreseeing really like how he's getting in. Like it's cool to be like, oh, it's just like shaved head dude, red tie, and he's everywhere, like I actually thought they did pretty well. And I, once again, I missed the whole start of this movie, but so I was confused, but I was like, oh, that was a cool intro scene and everything. And then I was like, wait, hold on. Oh gosh, who am I rooting for? But then when it switched, I was like, okay, so it's fine. Then I was confused because it was confusing,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, for what they had, they did pretty well. Like, I mean, I don't know. This movie has an abysmal Rotten Tomatoes score. And
It's too low, right?
I have seen movies with like 38% Rotten Tomato scores that are worse than this, like
I've seen movies with
simply
like
put.
80%, 90% that are worse than this movie. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I think this should be closer to like the 60 to 70 range, where like some people are going to really like it, but in general, critics obviously aren't going to, I don't know. It just, for a bad movie, it's pretty good. I guess that's like the gist of my review.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it just suffers a lot from, like people being not that into video game movies or movies like this. Because I think it's also like generic action movies were everywhere at this point. And this is a generic action movie based on a video game. So it's like two things
Yeah.
that Hollywood was like, stop it, too.
Yeah. Sure.
And
I will say they threw a Wilhelm scream in there. That's a nice little touch.
yeah, they did. But yeah, and that's, you gotta love a good Wilhelm scream. Because what is a Wilhelm scream if not what the entire movie industry is built on the back of, really? Like the fact that this movie got worse ratings than the previous Hitman movie is ridiculous to me.
So is this a sequel to that, or is it just
it's like a
new
restart,
iteration?
like trying to do it.
Reboot?
I think one of the things I know a lot of people didn't like about the previous one is he never changes, like he never knocks someone out and takes their clothes. He's just he's just a hitman, basically, which is like the name of the movie, but it's like they just put a dude, they picked a random white actor, they shaved his head, and they're like, be an action movie star. And everybody, like, one of the things I know, like my brother didn't like about the newer, before they rebooted the video games, like the later of the previous generation of Hitman games, is they turned Agent 47 into like a like an Ethan Hunt or like a James Bond kind of thing, where he had a machine gun a lot and you'd get into firefights with hundreds of guys and get out. But the whole thing was in the original Hitman games, and the newer ones is of like, if two dudes spot you with guns, you're gonna die. Like you can maybe take on one guy, but your whole thing is that you have to plan your route through a crowd, and you have to like set up all these traps and like set up like plan for contingencies and stuff. Like that's what's fun about it. That's what people like. So I like that. That's whenever they had to engage a bunch of people, he was like, you can't engage that man. Like there's that whole line in the factory where he's like, we engage them head on, we're going to die. So how do you do it? And so they go around and they set things up, and they like kill them with the equipment, and I like the goofy thing where like him throwing them in a grinder or like slamming them with that's the kind of kills you get in Hitman.
Yeah.
And like that kind of stuff was very much with the thing where it's like, yeah, no, he's faster and smarter, but his strength is like being able to emotionlessly
Honestly,
find
if
his
you
way
made
through
this
a
an
crowd.
Edgar Wright movie with Simon Pegg, It would be exceptional. Like he would, because it can be so visual, especially when you do get to the kills and the traps and stuff. Like he would nail it absolutely.
That's what I was
You
gonna
just need
ask
to
you.
peg it as an action comedy,
I think that's what
almost.
it needs to have Agent 47, but you got to pick somebody. Agent 47 needs to not be funny at all. It needs to be hilarious how serious he is, no matter the ridiculousness of the situation he's put into.
Mm-hmm.
And then just let it happen. Like you said, like give
Yeah.
it to like someone like Edgar Wright that'll make it all colorful and put sound effects to stuff, and maybe give him a sidekick. But even then, it's like, but that's where the movie, like that's where it shines, is in the goof, the like comical like splat when the giant clamp closes. But he's like looks at her. He's like, "When do I hit the button?" And she's like, "Now." It's splat. As it like just turns these guys into putty. I
Yeah.
feel like where it suffered the most was like the super serious fight scenes between Agent 47 and John Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's like, no, we're going to be serious. It's like, no, if you had just kept it goofy, made these two guys serious and them really like taking everything seriously, but everything else be ridiculous, then it would have been funny.
It needs like an Edgar Wright or like a Deadpool level of like we can switch back and forth between, hey, this is the serious stuff about the plot and her emotional journey, and also we're so silly when we fight, like, which is a hard thing to do, but there are guys that can do it, but it goes back to that video game thing where it's not cool to make a video game movie, and it's not gonna get like the full, I don't know, it's tough because like not all gamers are big movie watchers, and not all movie watchers are big gamers. Like everyone, I don't know. There are a lot of people that do both, but there aren't that many people that are like, I'm such a big fan of this game that I'm excited to go see the movie of it, because they also they struggle to toe that line of like, oh, we're honoring the video game and making it great. It's just they never do it quite right, and like the couple times they've done it right, it's worked great. But like Last of Us is a perfect example. It's like, okay, we took everything you needed from the source material, honored it, but then made it good for TV, which is what you need to do with this, is say, okay, what do we love about Hitman? We love the traps, and we love the creativeness, and we love how goofy it can be, but we can also make a good story out of it, which like you said, they did a pretty good job drawing a decent story out of what they had. But yeah, it just needed a little polishing and maybe a little more money behind it.
I will say, like, I think something that would be, if I was going to make a Hitman movie, I would sit down with a bunch of writers and everything, and I would say, okay, I don't care what story we come up with, but there needs to be a scene where a target looks back over his shoulder and sees whoever is Agent 47 dressed in full clown makeup walking at him like he's a Terminator. Straight face, straight line through a crowd. Like, he doesn't care that he's dressed as a clown, and the guy's like, oh, and he's terrified and runs away. But he has to be dressed as like the goofiest clown you've ever seen. Like perfect clown makeup. And like kids come up to him and he like makes them a balloon animal and hands it off to him. Like he's a clown moving through the crowd as a clown, but he's also a terrifying agent of death, like, because that would perfectly encapsulate the game.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, like to what you said, you like the FromSoft games, right? Like the Dark Souls and stuff. Those would make terrible movies.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's 5 minutes of story in a 40-hour FromSoft game, aside from like all the background lore and all, but it's really like there's only this much story. It's very serious. The characters, like, there's no depth to your character at all. Like it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like you could make stuff in the world, right? Like you could make a movie or a show about the world of Dark Souls or the world of Elden Ring, right? But
you have to turn it to like a Game of Thrones thing, because like a lot of the deep lore goes into, oh, it's this royal family, and look at this son did this and this brother did that, but it's like that's all the background for a video game, and that has nothing to do with the protagonist of this video game,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like if you tried to follow that, like your character, you think about how many hours does it take you to beat something like even Bloodborne, which is a shorter one. Like how many hours do you spend with that character, like getting random little snippets of dialogue and like getting to care about this character and not care about that character. And like that's the biggest thing between a video game and like a movie or a show is that you'll spend people will dump hundreds of hours into a video game, and at the end, like at the end of Mass Effect trilogy, that like the trilogy, I cried. People hate that ending, but I lost it. It was the first time where I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm sitting here crying like a little baby at the impact of what I did and everything, and like even though it all boils down to like three options.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd spend years playing those games. No movie will ever, like, that's the thing. I would say the reason people cared about the Avengers Endgame so much is it succeeded in doing what video games have been doing for years. Is it made you care about something for years and come back to it over and over and get snippets of the story and then culminate in a final moment and everybody lost it. And it's like, so I mean, really, for a video game, that's what you need to get the same effect, or you need to just pick a slice of the game and just do that. I mean, no one wants to just pick a slice.
That was what was great about The Last of Us is like they went way deeper. They cut out all the gameplay basically.
Yeah,
like they were like, all right, here's this scene and this scene, and aside from those couple like snippets, set piece snippets, it's all about the characters and the in between stuff, and we're gonna flesh out side stories, and
yeah. Which I mean, that's also goes to their strength in writing a good story, because that's like Sony. Is it Sony Santa Monica, right? Those are the guys who make God of War, Naughty Dog with The Last of Us. Like, I can't remember his name right now for some reason, but the guy who wrote The Last of Us tried to write it almost like like a movie or something that was written like
right.
Tried to write it where like you could just publish a book that is The Last of Us and people would love it.
I mean, they made a video that's the thing about the game too is like I don't know, it's probably like a 20 to 30 hour game, and there's a good like 45 minutes, maybe an hour to an hour and a half of cutscenes. So it's like there's a movie's worth of cutscenes in one of those games.
Like I remember seeing a whole thing once where someone's like, "Why don't they ever make a Metal Gear Solid movie?" And someone was like, "You mean like Metal Gear Solid?" Because there's a 2-hour cutscene in one of those games.
Ridiculous.
So it's like, yeah, no, because Metal Gear Solid is its own movie. That's probably why.
Because the guy who makes it was literally like, I wanted to make movies, but I ended up making games. So I make my games like they're movies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you take games like Hitman is a game franchise where the story and the characters and everything are built around the gameplay mechanics. That's why people like the game so much, is because you can play Hitman and not care about the story, or you can play it and care. Like I remember my brother really cared. He thought it was really cool because if you played through the games, it went from you're just an assassin to you learn about like bigger picture, and like you end up betraying your agency and going over to this other agency and like fighting this whole like secret agency war. But that was all built on top of, well, how can we make a second, third, fourth, fifth game, Whereas a lot of those things like Last of Us was like, let's make a really good story and then be like, all right, how can we put gameplay into this really good story? Like I think that's how they started with that, is good story, then gameplay. Or how do we marry this gameplay to the story in a way that makes sense rather than just justify the story or the gameplay with the story.
Yeah.
Like I bet God of War, I think they're doing a movie about that. I think it'll be a good movie because it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
They can make a Spider-Man.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
I saw somebody say that. Like, all these Sony game movies, why don't they make one out of Spider-Man? I was like, oh, you mean like Spider-Man?
Yeah. Oh man, don't even get me started. That's a game that has so many cutscenes, and I just want to swing around as Spider-Man, and they're like, how about you sit down here and learn about, sit down and have tea with this old lady. It's like, I'm supposed to be Spider-Man. Why are you making me sit through this cutscene?
Why don't here? All right, I'll play the game. I'll play the Insomniac. I hear you. You want to play as MJ? I got you. We'll give you stealth missions.
You bought Spider-Man. We're giving you MJ. Yeah.
Everybody wants. You
want superpowers? Try flashlight. Your superpower is now you have a flashlight.
Whoa, now that seems a bit much. How about a taser that if you ever actually use it, you lose the mission? And some distraction orbs that work 20% of the time.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Oh man.
I love the movies. If you search for Hitman Agent 47, the movies where it's like people also searched for. One of them is Leon, the Professional.
I guess that is a Hitman movie, isn't it?
Yeah. And I
That's
think,
what this movie needed, was a small child protege.
see, the thing is, like, Leon is very similar. Like, he is, I think, an example of one way you could do Agent 47 very well. Because
Yeah.
Hitman's whole thing is he doesn't really he's not a normal person. Whereas like Leon, they made him out to be kind of like more of like a beautiful mind, like
Savant
kind of person, right? Whereas Hitman, it's like no, he's a genetically engineered. But again, if you want to look at the very first game, there's nothing about him being genetically engineered. He's just an orphan that's shaved.
Oh well, same thing, you know.
And so like that's one of those things where it's like then you figure out that in like one of the later games, then you find this facility that you're cloned from, and it's like that. Then it's a whole thing. But originally, it was just you're a member of a program, you know.
Yeah.
Like you see some cases where it's like that's a way they could do it, like him, but maybe a little less emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the same thing. Like, okay, I don't know if you've seen the stuff for the Halo show. It's coming back for another season. You know me. I love Halo. I love Xbox. I love Halo, right?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of fans of Halo don't like the Halo show because it's not a very good adaptation of this incredibly rich, expansive world. But I've always thought it'd be very difficult and kind of dumb to make a Halo show or movie based on Master Chief because he is the baseless protagonist.
Right.
You can't base a movie around him. So I've always thought you got to base it on like ODSTs or something, like the Marines that are with him, and have them as the main characters and him as like a secondary character coming in.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They're like, let's have him take his helmet off. Let's show his butt. Let's go the whole way, you know? And you know what? I'm sitting here and I'm like, it was okay. But all the moms and the random peeps that just signed up for Paramount Plus to watch the Halo series, they loved it. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think, like, in your opinion, Cody, you like movies.
Yeah.
Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a movie out of a video game, do you want to take the video game story and try to adapt it into the movie, or do you want to just take pieces of it and try to like take what people like about it and then try to like use that to make a different series, like change it for a different type of audience?
I think you have to do the latter. Like, you have to make a story within that world, and you want to try to honor the genre of it and like the callbacks to it and that kind of stuff of it. But I don't think you unless it's a Naughty Dog one where it's like, really, this is a movie, you know, this is a story with gameplay. When it's the ones where it's gameplay with story, you really need to say, okay, what's good about this story, and let's live in this world and find a good angle for it. You know, I think that's the better way to go about it. But you're gonna make the video game stands angry because it's not going to be an exact replica of the game. But it's also like I said, the Venn diagram of who likes both is only so big, you know. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know. It's interesting to see how they choose to do it, but I think that's what you have to do is, I don't know. And there have been really interesting adaptations, and you see it happen. Like, we talk about how it's hard. There aren't a lot of good movies off of video games, but there are a lot of good animes off of video games, you know, and you know, like my brother really likes the Gundam series, where it's like, here's a bunch of like young people from the Gundam universe, and like they're not in Gundams, but it's set in the thing, and it's like a really awesome war drama with focused on young people, you know. So yeah, take what's cool about the world and find a story within that. I think that's the better way to go if you're going for movie, because they're just such different things. Like, the gameplay can't save a mediocre story, you know?
Yeah,
There's no gameplay in a movie, you know?
it's true. Our gun, we've talked about this before, but our Gundam's based on a video game.
I don't know.
Weird stuff is what they are. Yeah, but I mean, so even like Last of Us, right? Isn't it? Haven't they said like it's a different, like they've diverged, right? Like it's a different universe. You need to think of them as they're similar, but they're not always going to line up perfectly.
You mean the TV versus the game?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, they follow it pretty closely. There's not really big diversions, you know, and the ending's the same.
Or do you think they just said that because the TV show can be made so much faster that it's going to outpace the games?
Can outpace it? Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't like that though. I would not enjoy if the third Last of Us game came out after the third Last of Us show. But I guess they could make them different. But
I think
I don't know.
Neil Druckmann, that's his name. He's gone on record as saying that he's very like that the show will not get ahead. It may like go another direction, like look at other like explore other stuff that's going on, but it won't get ahead. Like the game won't get spoiled by the show.
Yeah.
Until they
I mean, that's a universe that is huge. Like the Last of Us story, there's a ton of angles they could go with that one. Like
yeah,
there's plenty of characters too, like that they could explore that are really just side characters in the games, but are pretty rich.
Yeah, which I think that's what they did in the show a lot, right? Where they really fleshed out a lot of those side characters.
Yeah, absolutely. They spent a whole episode on Bill, who's in the game for like 20 minutes.
Is that Ron Swanson?
Gameplay. Yeah, Ron Swanson.
Yeah, is he the gay one?
We won an Emmy, I think, for that.
Is he the gay one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people cried with him talking about did he have to kill his zombie husband or something, or
yeah,
something? I don't know. It's Bill. That's all I know. Everybody's like, Bill. I literally see people online be like, Bill, am I right? And everybody go like, don't you even say that to me or something. Like, you know? I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did win like an award. I know a lot of people liked it.
That episode was fantastic.
So Cody, you know about as much as I do, but I mean, about like the Hitman, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like, walk me through, unless you had some other points you really wanted to go down. Like how would you do a Hitman movie?
How would I do a Hitman movie? I think the easiest thing to do would be like, you introduce him to the agency, he's top of the agency, you go on a mission with him, it's going well, and then something goes awry in the mission and he ends up betraying the agency. I think that, which is kind of, you know, that's sort of what they did with this one, right? Like,
I think
more or less.
Already
I was really
planned.
unclear on who was trying to find the girl or not, but, you know, that's what I would do is be like, oh, I've got to question who actually, you know, like maybe he didn't know he was a clone or something. He just thought he was part of, you know, and then he finds that out, and that sends him on like a journey of, okay, I'm going to take down the agency, or I have to find answers or something. That's what I would do.
I think that is the storyline of the second game.
There you go.
Where it is like on a mission, he completes it, and then something happens where there's another agent there, and that agent tries to kill him. And that sets off a whole thing where he finds out about the cloning and the genetic stuff and all that. But so that's what I find that interesting, right? That you pulled out of their like a storyline they've done. So something that realistically, like they pulled from existing stories from the games. They just seems like they pulled the wrong one.
Yeah.
Or they tried to make their own one versus one that like had worked before.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, it's interesting. Like you found the dialogue, right? The that what took you out the most, right?
At times, my favorite, I had subtitles on. It's like, the kid in the elevator is like, she smells funny. I'm like, hold on. when you're allergic to someone, I don't know. But was that an intentional thing? Did he make her smell funny so that the kid would? I don't know. He steals the inhaler from the kid, and I don't know how pre-planned that was. But I just thought it was funny. It's like, if you're allergic to someone, you don't say, "Oh, they smell funny." You're like, "Oh, my nose itches, or my eyes are watery, or what's going on?"
Yeah, that would be funny. That
And I just when I first saw it, I was like, "See, why did that show up in the subtitles?" And I was like, "Oh, it's going somewhere. It's going somewhere." He took his inhaler. Okay, whatever. And I was like, "What is happening?"
it is interesting that you said, "Oh, did he do that intentionally?" Because that is something I think I would have done a little more. Is like I would have left it up like I would have made the watcher question a lot more. Like, did he do that intentionally? Like, did he set that up, or is this like, oh,
Yeah.
he's so fast that he was able to do it quickly, or did he like, I mean, think back to like John Wick, right? When he's like going through the tunnels and leaving all of his guns along the way, and then he's running away to escape being betrayed,
Yeah.
and he's got all of his guns set up. Like, have the same kind of a thing, but have him be like, "I'll be back," and disappear for like 2 minutes and come back, and then it's like they're running and there's a rubber duck on the floor, and the guy trips on a rubber duck, and it's like, did he put the rubber duck there?
Yeah.
The guy to trip, I would have wanted to set a lot of that up. But I also feel like what I would make is a much goofier movie that would also be hated because it's like it's not serious enough.
Yeah.
But it's like there's an achievement for killing a certain person by giving him a heart attack because you pop out of a chest dressed as a clown and he's afraid of clowns. So it's like
That's what I'm saying. It has to be like Deadpool, where it's like there's 3 or 4 like serious scenes that actually like really, I don't know, get to you, but the rest of the movie is just antics, and is like, which is like I said, very hard to do. But there's a handful of dudes who I know can do it.
So here's my question, because I feel like the best way to do it, right, would be you'd have the agent, because in the games there is no comedic relief person
Yeah.
to like go like, oh my gosh, when he kills somebody with like a propeller blade. But I feel like the best way to do it in a movie would be to give him a guy in the chair to be like,
guy in a chair, and it's T.J. Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's Agent 47?
Who's Agent 47? I mean, if you're going Edgar Wright, if it was Edgar Wright, it would be Simon Pegg as Agent 47, and then Nick, what's his name? His friend is the guy in the chair, which would be just awesome.
But do you think Simon Pegg could be the like emotionless assassin?
Have you seen Hot Fuzz? That's his whole character. He's the hard-nosed cop guy who takes everything too seriously in the town where everyone's like, "That's fine, nothing's a problem," So I mean, I think they could do it. Who else can play a straight man? Hugh Jackman's a decent straight man.
I know I've seen a lot of people say Jason Statham. It was Jason like born Statham to play this role.
That's a really good one.
And it's like crazy that he's never played it. But I feel like Statham's got weird is more too much like character and charisma to play a good Agent 47. You almost need like a no-name person, right? Like popped up. The Die Hard popped up on like the movies people also search for. It's like, there you go. Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be good too. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, there's a way to do it, but I think you'd have to pitch it as an action comedy, and you'd have to go that route, because some of these lower budget action movies, they take themselves a bit too seriously. And for everything this movie did right, I do think that's the approach to go to make it really pop,
Yeah.
But Ryan Reynolds' company would be great, do great with it. Any of the Deadpool guys, the Hobbs and Shaw guy would be great. That director dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I would think if you went a route of where it's like somebody trying to become an agent or something like that, and like going on training missions, or like being like a less experienced person, and Agent 47 is there to like observe, then you can have someone like, shave Ryan Reynolds' head, give him the stamp, Agent 69 or something,
yeah.
But then it's almost like you're making a spoof of the game.
Yeah.
But so I do think it's an interesting rough spot to be in to try to make something like this into a thing. Because I think it is funny because a lot of people would say like, oh, you could just make it like a James Bond movie, which is because that's the vibe they've always tried to go for, and now they're
Yeah.
getting a James. It's kind of like when they made that Laura Croft movie, the Tomb Raider movie,
Mm-hmm.
or when they made the Uncharted movie. And people are like, well, how do
Mm-hmm.
you do it? And then people would be like, well, you make an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
But you can't just make that. But it's supposed to be an Indiana Jones knockoff. That's what these characters
Yeah.
are. They're
Right.
Indiana
Yeah.
Jones. Like, that's all you had to do. Which, so Indiana Jones is a video game movie. That's why they're not doing this anymore.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, that's all I really had to say about it. Like I said, I liked it a bit more, but I think it's 80% done, which is pretty good for what it is. And I'm assuming what the budget was. And it's not like there's like giant named actors in it, but if you want to go that way, there's a way to do it. But I liked it more than I thought I would. It was one of the better bad movies I've seen, and especially for how bad the reviews were. Like, let's just look it up.
It feels like there's something more to it than it just being a bad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you re-release this exact same movie with just, like a little, the only thing I would fix, like if you could only pick one piece of it to fix, I would have the fight choreography and like editing redone with like a post John Wick style. And I think this movie would do really well.
Yeah,
With
absolutely.
I wouldn't even change the dialogue. I did think it was weird that he does a lot of like slamming around with his car and the car takes 0 damage.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe put some damage, maybe put some scratches, dents on the car.
Mm-hmm.
Or like be like, why isn't the car messed up? And him be like, oh, it's got subdermal plating or something on it,
Yeah. Yeah, this the Rotten Tomatoes of this is 8% critics, 40% audience, but it also doesn't have that many reviews too.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
Did you happen to look at the box office, like the budget and the box office and everything?
No.
Do you want to hazard a guess? Because I mean, the movie looks pretty
Budget?
impressive. I thought.
I mean, is it like a $30 million budget?
Yeah, as close as 35 million.
35 million.
And then
I have no clue what the box office might be. So like 50 million box office.
So 82 million. So it looks like it just made its money back.
Not too bad. This movie was not on my radar even a little bit.
I remember seeing ads for it like crazy when it came out, but it was like such a short window that they pushed it so hard.
Yeah.
And then it was gone, came and went. And I just remember seeing a lot of people be like, it's worse than the original one, which how dare you? I just had a thought. The Skarsgård brother that plays he's like the action star one. Yeah, which one is he? Which one's Skarsgård?
Bill Skarsgård?
Yeah, the one that's like he played the Viking warrior in the movie recently, in the Northman movie, and then he was like in that movie where he was mute. He's like a mute bartender. You know what I'm talking about? You know who I'm talking about, right? You can picture him.
There's too many Skarsgårds.
And let me see if I can find the movie.
Timothy Oliphant Hitman is a 16% tomato meter. It's
Yep.
only 8% better. And 57 audience score, only 16% better. And I bet it has more reviews. Oh, man. It's fine. Whatever. Oh, no.
Alexander
I have an ad blocker
Skarsgård.
on, and it's really mad at me.
Yeah.
105 votes. So it actually has less votes than the Agent 47 one. But neither one have that big a sample size.
Yeah.
It's a bummer because Timothy Oliphant's great. He's one of those guys that like really good, kills it on TV and does just okay in movies. Like he just doesn't get as good roles,
Yeah, and I think he looks pretty good as Agent 47.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like he does it. But I mean, I would say like if I was going to cast it now, I would at least ask Alexander Skarsgård to come in and read for it, because I feel like you shave his head, put the stamp on the back of his head, he could do it.
He'd be good.
I also think he could be good. Like his reactions would be good to like play off of if you were giving him a comedic sidekick.
Man.
But
well,
do you wanna
rate it and find out what
rate
we're
it?
watching next? Are you ready?
Oh, I gotta pull up the thing you rate it while I pull up the thing that
I mean,
I
yeah, like
remembered.
like I said, I liked it more than I thought I would, but I also didn't think it was great. But it was better than it should have been. It's a C minus, you know.
C minus.
A little TLC could get up to a B minus, but I think that's the cap of this one unless you fully reimagine it, you know.
Now, so okay, so if this was the test screening and then they came back, did that? Then you think that's what would get up to the B minus, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
some re-editing, like don't reshoot anything, or just re-edit it. Maybe or like
a little bit tighter dialogue. I mean, it doesn't need that much to get to a B minus, but I just don't think it's going to be better than that. You know, that's its ceiling, I think. What about you?
I'm gonna put it because it was so much better than what I was expecting, and I
Yeah,
think they nailed it as much as I think they nailed the vibe of Hitman as much as you can in a movie without it going into its detriment. Like, I think had they been as goofy as I would have wanted them to be, it would have come across as too goofy to people who aren't familiar with Hitman.
yeah.
So I want to go B plus on it.
Wow.
I think it's about as good as you could do without just fully leaning into it and being like, this is a movie for the fans of Hitman. This is as good, I think, as this could be with just trying to go for mass market. Tiffany, where would you rate it?
Yeah.
She would give it an A. Tiffany liked it.
Hey, wow. Man.
And Tiffany, what would you give Peter Pan and Wendy?
Don't speak
F.
those words in this house.
Yeah, that she glared at me and then she asked, "What's the lowest? What's the lowest score we've ever given? Just F, right?"
Yeah.
Oh, she says
Have we ever
slightly.
done the F minus? That's the real question.
Do you
Is there
think
an
D
F
minus, F plus? Storytelling, F.
There is no F minus that I can tell.
So he says we never given an F minus, just F. It's usually Cody to my movies. He's a meanie head that hates to love.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I'd give it a B plus. You do C. You say C minus, C plus. What'd you
C
say?
minus, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. Do you think? What do you think had better dialogue, this or Lockout?
It's had better dialogue than Lockout.
But what had better quips?
Oh, Lockout.
Oh,
Easy.
for sure.
Easy.
Yeah. All right. So I got the machine up. I'm ready. I'm going to do the thing to tell us what the next Tyler's Trash is. It's Hercules, Cody.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is.
Which, hold on. Okay, this is the exact same problem as the last one. Which Hercules?
You know which one. You
No, we
know.
The
Oh,
Rock?
The Rock. You need. Look, really, I just need you to see his wig, you know? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So excited.
What year is that one?
2014. Oh, really? Just what were the teens? But just the peak of filmmaking.
I can't wait till we finish your list, and then and then we can just retire this franchise, the Tyler Trash franchise.
Oh no, I just gotta
Otherwise,
add movies to the end of it. Gotta keep adding to it as we do them. Oh, it's a good one. I will say it is funny. This made me remember that I used to have Immortals on here, and I think I took it off because I was like, that movie is too good to be amongst this list. Because Immortals is very much like 300. It's a pretty good movie, and I was like, yeah, we don't need a movie like that. We need some trash movies.
Yeah, that's true.
I just need you to look.
Tyler,
Look,
thanks for being the man to provide the trash movies. Like where would we be?
I'm here to have you watch a hour-and-a-half movie where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will look you in the eyes and tell you it's not a wig for the whole time. Does it look good, Cody? I'll leave that to you to decide.
All right. Well, I'm excited. Do you want to wrap us up?
Oh, Wait, you always do
You're
the
so
X
good
thing.
at it. All
You
right.
do the
Thanks
thing.
everyone for listening. You can follow us and share us at the podcast places, and you can try to make us revive our social media, accounts that I don't track anymore at Opinion Havers. And until next time, watch movies.
And have opinions.
I just can't wait till the day that I'm bald and I can wear the wigs and look people in the eye.
Oh,
Say, it's real. It's not a wig.
It's not a wig.